Okay, let's just jump right into this. This is Donald Trump when he was campaigning for president in 2016, and he's talking about Ted Cruz and how Ted Cruz reacted when he was questioned about waterboarding, and Ted Cruz didn't know exactly how to respond to it. He kind of was befuddled and trapped in his own lies, and look at that. Donald Trump, like a lot of people from New York, they have this kind of way of showing how someone responds when they don't know what to do and they're trapped in their own lives and they're befuddled and that kind of thing. It's a very New York kind of thing, kind of behavior. I've seen it a lot. And it doesn't have to do with anyone's disability because we're talking about Ted Cruz. But he didn't just do that with Ted Cruz. He did that more or less when talking about in general too, and he had the same kind of befuddled thing, but it was a little bit toned down, a lot toned down. But now let's talk about Surge. But first, I'd like to show a few things, one of them being the actual examples of Trump doing this for other people.
And we'll get some of these regulators out of the banks so you can borrow and you can help. Because, you know, the banks now, they can't do anything. They're run by the regulators. In all fairness to the banks, they're run by the regulators. When you see the president of the bank, I mentioned the word regulator, these guys come in, they run the banks. And I watched a general recently on television, and they said to him, what do you think about ISIS? Oh, ISIS is very tough. And I'm saying, first of all, why is a general on television? I don't want my generals on television.
I heard Ted's a good debater. I said, he is a good debater, but he can't talk, okay? Bad talker. He's a good debater, bad talker. So he's over here. They asked him about waterboarding. They said, Senator Cruz, what do you think of waterboarding? Oh, I don't want to talk about it. You know.
Okay, so I kept notes on this topic on my website. And I'm going to go there and show you how easy it is to look at my notes. All you have to do is wait for a moment for my website to come up, click on Politics, and then click on Donald Trump. And then go down to where it says the truth. Let's see. Oh, it says about Trump making fun of disabled reporter. Now, I actually found, and I give a link to a blog that Ann Coulter wrote. I don't agree with everything Ann Coulter writes about, but I don't think we should dismiss something just because of the source or where it comes from. We shouldn't base our opinions of facts based on who tells us necessarily. If someone makes a good case, we should listen to it. We shouldn't use ad hominem or personal attacks against someone. So she makes actually a good case on her blog. And the blog actually explains the fact that Trump didn't really mock a reporter, and in her blog she actually gives a link to a Catholics for Trump website that explains why the media accused Trump of doing it in the first place. It's very interesting. So I'm just going to let the blog speak for itself.
Just when you think the media could not possibly become more loathsome, the Fourth Estate bullies prove you wrong again. The Washington Post's latest ugliness was to exploit the disability of a newspaper reporter in order to smear the Republican nominee for president. Then, and this is the least surprising part of the story, the Post lied about it. Other than the subject of that paragraph, which I slyly switched from Trump to the media, that is an exact paraphrase of the Post's opening lines from an editorial hawking the media's most successful lie about Donald Trump, that he mocked a man for being disabled. I have a chapter on that lie in my new book, In Trump We Trust, E Pluribus Awesome. It was perfectly obvious that Trump was not mimicking any disability that Serge Kovaleski has, but I didn't have the smoking gun to prove that the media were lying and knew they were lying. Now we have it. A group called Catholics for Trump has posted a video clip of another part of that same speech, in which Trump imitates a flustered general. Guess what? He does the exact same arm flailing. In another speech, Trump pretended to be a timorous Ted Cruz. Again, he does the exact same arm flailing. You can see the videos here.
I heard Ted's a good debater. I said he is a good debater, but he can't talk, okay? Bad talker. He's a good debater, bad talker. So he's over here. They asked him about waterboarding. They said, Senator Cruz, what do you think of waterboarding? I don't want to talk about it.
Neither the general nor Cruz is disabled. If a jury ever saw these videos, it would acquit Trump immediately. Trump's impression of a groveling reporter is just like his imitation of a groveling general and just like his imitation of a groveling U.S. senator. He's like Rich Little that way, all his impressions look the same. Perhaps Trump is not a subtle actor, but he's utterly innocent of making fun of a disabled person. Now consider the media's role in manufacturing, and then protecting, this lie. Reporters were at Trump's speech. They were filming it. They saw him do the identical imitation of a general during that same speech. The media knew damn well that Trump does the arm-waving routine whenever he's pretending to be a flustered person. But they never allowed the public to see the clip of Trump doing the same imitation of a general. That is proof that the media knew they were lying. Video, vindication, Trump mocks Army general with same spastic motion.
And I watched a general recently on television, and they said to him, what do you think about ISIS? Oh, ISIS is very tough. And I'm saying, first of all, why is a general on television? I don't want my generals on television.
And isn't it curious that in the midst of the frenzy over Trump's allegedly mocking a disabled reporter, you've never seen the reporter interviewed? Why don't they show us Serge, so that the public can gasp in horror and say, why, Trump's imitation is the spitting image of Serge Kowaleski. The reason the media won't show an interview with Serge is that if you ever saw him speaking, it would be blindingly obvious that Trump's imitation isn't in the same universe as Serge's affliction. Serge speaks perfectly calmly. He does not twitch, jerk or flail his arms. That's Debbie Wasserman Schultz you're thinking of. There's an old interview with Serge here. The absence of a current Serge interview is the dog that didn't bark. The only reason you will never see anything but a still photo of Serge is so that the media can trick the public into believing he has something like cerebral palsy. In fact, his disability is almost the exact opposite of what Trump was doing. Serge has arthrogryposis, which locks his wrists in place, actually preventing movement. We also have proof that the media know they are lying about Trump mocking a disabled man. In the comments section to a Washington Post article pushing this lie, someone posted a perfectly respectful response that included the Catholics for Trump videos of Trump doing the exact same imitation of a general and of Serge being interviewed. The post deleted the comment and pronto. Why did the post instantly remove those videos from the comments section? To hide the evidence of its lying. That's consciousness of guilt. The post couldn't allow anyone to see those videos because then everyone would see that this is how Trump imitates any frightened person. Maybe he won't be hired by Saturday Night Live as a sketch comedian, and as you know, that show will hire almost anybody these days, but Trump did not mock a disabled man. None of the media's other hysterical anti-Trump campaigns are getting any traction. Trump said a Hispanic judge was biased against him. It's hard for people to be outraged when our entire justice system is premised on the idea that all white juries can't be trusted to deliver fair verdicts to black defendants. Trump criticized a Gold Star dad? Yes, but that Gold Star dad also happened to be a snarling Muslim who took the stage at the Democratic National Convention in order to viciously lecture Trump, saying he has no right to venture opinions because his kid didn't die in Iraq. Isra Khan isn't exactly a baby seal. Trump called Hillary the MVP of ISIS? Most people didn't need the media's earnest fact checks establishing beyond dispute that ISIS has not, in fact, given Hillary the MVP award. Nor most improved. Nor best spirit. Of all things Trump has been accused of, the claim that he made fun of a disabled person is the only one that has hurt him, and justly so, if it were true. But now we know it was a big, fat, intentional lie by our guardians of truth and justice in the media.
So while this blog explains what happened, the Catholics for Trump website blog explains why it happened. It delves into the details of the motivations of the media that was behind all this. But before I show that, I'd like to make my comment on the whole matter. When Trump did this thing with Serge, at the time, no one thought anything of it. The audience didn't think he was mocking someone with a disability, and even the news media didn't think he was mocking someone with a disability. That was all contrived the next day after they did research on who this person was, and they realized he had some sort of disability. Without understanding the disability itself, they just put together a hit piece on Trump as a distraction. But why they did this will be explained now.
At the Democratic National Convention, speakers are repeating the claim, amplified ad nauseum by the left and establishment GOP opponents over the past year, that Donald Trump mocked the disability of New York Times reporter, Serge Kovaleski. This accusation has served as a very convenient tool to both smear Trump's character and to avoid having to confront him on substantive political issues. But is it true? Here is the story the media is not telling you. It all started on November 21, 2015 when, at a rally, Trump said he remembered seeing reports of Arab Americans celebrating the 9/11 terror attacks on rooftops in New Jersey shortly after the Twin Towers fell. As he told George Stephanopoulos in an interview the next day on ABC's This Week, there were people that were cheering on the other side of New Jersey, where you have large Arab populations. They were cheering as the World Trade Center came down. I know it might be not politically correct for you to talk about it, but there were people cheering, as those buildings came down. And that tells you something. Stephanopoulos and all of the major news outlets immediately denied the existence of any such news reports following 9/11. One paper, The Washington Post, even went so far as to write a detailed article claiming to fact-check Mr. Trump. After an exhaustive review, the Post lectured that there was absolutely no evidence of Trump's claim and deemed it false. Imagine the Washington Post's surprise when Trump uncovered one of the Washington Post's own reporters, Serge Kovaleski, supporting the claim in an article Kovaleski wrote for them on September 18, 2001. Kovaleski wrote, "In Jersey City, within hours of two jetliners plowing into the World Trade Center, law enforcement authorities detained and questioned a number of people who were allegedly seen celebrating the attacks and holding tailgate-style parties on rooftops while they watched the devastation on the other side of the river. Very embarrassing for the media, especially the Washington Post, which had done such a great job scouring news reports after September 11 that they missed their very own story on the subject. It was in this state of embarrassment that the media was desperate to distract from the matter. The Washington Post ended up finding Kovaleski, now writing for the New York Times, so he could do damage control. Kovaleski predictably tried to backtrack from his 2001 account, saying he didn't remember the details. I certainly do not remember anyone saying that thousands or even hundreds of people were celebrating, said Serge Kovaleski, one of the reporters. That was not the case, as best as I can remember. Enter Donald Trump's rally in South Carolina soon thereafter. During the rally, Trump pointed all of this out and paraphrased Kovaleski's backtracking as he impersonated a groveling reporter changing his story under pressure. While he did this, Trump moved his hands around quickly, acting flustered. Soon thereafter, the media revealed still photos of Kovaleski with his right hand in a permanently flexed position downward, announcing that he was disabled. The media then shifted from trying to defend their oversight of the 9/11 Post article and instead, with disapproving shocked outrage, accused Trump of mocking a reporter's disability. Some liberals went even further and freeze-framed a millisecond of the Trump video at the exact moment when his hand went into a flexed posture. Then they dishonestly put the screen capture side by side with a picture of Kovaleski's flexed hand. Thus, you saw the following photo spread like wildfire over social media with commentary condescendingly and horrifyingly excoriating Trump as a monster. The media's clear implication was that Trump was mocking the way Kovaleski moved his arms. People watching the clip of Trump's impersonation only knew that Kovaleski was disabled. Thus, they naturally assumed Kovaleski's disability must be similar to cerebral palsy, where he has limited control of his movements and is prone to have muscle spasms or move his arms in jerky motions as Trump was doing at the rally. This is precisely the image the media wanted in people's minds. They wanted this to be the story, that Donald Trump knowingly and intentionally mocked the flailing arm motions of someone who can't control his muscles. They knew this would naturally trigger a visceral reaction of disgust from viewers and outrage amongst the disabled and all decent Americans, many of whom, to this day, think this is exactly what happened. Is it? What the media did not choose to show you was video of Serge Kovaleski. Notice how the media only showed and still shows photos of him. This was done for a reason. As it turns out, Kovaleski's disability is a congenital condition called arthrogryposis. Arthrogryposis causes restricted movement in the joints but does not cause spasms or uncontrolled moving of the limbs like cerebral palsy does. To show the depths of the deceit, one CNN reporter explained, while displaying a still photo of him, that Kovaleski suffers from a chronic condition that impairs movement of his arms. Again, the implication is that Kovaleski can't control his arms from moving. To the contrary, Kovaleski appears perfectly calm when giving interviews. Thus, if Trump truly wanted to mock Kovaleski's disability, he would have had to stand perfectly still with a flexed right hand and not flail his arms. Don't believe me? Watch the video.
Rather circumstantial. They'll be looking for more evidence, such as some witness accounts, perhaps further video, maybe some ballistic.
Written by a nice reporter. Now the poor guy, you got to see this guy. Oh, I don't know what I said. I don't remember. He's going like, I don't remember. Oh, maybe that's what I said.
To them, it seemed like he was just a sports star at a bar at the time, among several other 100 or so patrons.
Oh, I don't know what I said. I don't remember.
Mr. Hernandez as the gunman in the shooting which left 2 men dead.
In addition, Trump used the same flailing arm movements in a South Carolina rally to impersonate a flustered Ted Cruz being asked about waterboarding. To my knowledge, Cruz is not physically disabled.
I heard Ted's a good debater. I said he is a good debater, but he can't talk, okay? Bad talker. He's a good debater, bad talker. So he's over here. They asked him about waterboarding. They said, Senator Cruz, what do you think of waterboarding? Oh, I don't want to talk about it.
Thus the true story is as follows. Donald Trump embarrassed the media by finding the 9/11 Washington Post article. The media found the reporter who tried to backtrack. Trump impersonated the reporter backtracking. Media points out the reporter is disabled, but only releases still photos of his flexed hand. Public assumes from Trump's impersonation and being told by the media that he is mocking a disabled man that the reporter must not be able to control his arms and Trump is a dirtbag who hates the disabled. In reality, muscle spasms or involuntary arm movements are not part of the reporter's disability. Therefore, Trump could not be mocking a disability that doesn't exist. Here Trump responds to the claim below, which perfectly coincides with the series of events described above.
So I was very expressive in saying it, and they said I was mocking him. I would never mock a person that has difficulty. I would never do that. I'm telling you, I would never do it. I would never do it. I would never do it. I don't care if I liked the person or didn't, and I don't know this person. So now this person is going around saying, I did know him, that he reported on me in the 1980s, and all of that stuff, right? I don't know him. I really don't know him. I was very expressive in saying it. I don't take that back because the person was groveling in terms, if you read his statements about, well, did you say this and did you write this paragraph? He was really grasping for straw. And I will tell you that it is just such a shame when a disgusting newspaper like the New York Times when some of the media, like CNN in particular, was just really unfair. When they say things that were so unfair, people that have disability, hi folks, people that have a difficulty, I cherish them. These are incredible people, and I just want to put that to rest. I didn't know him. It's possible, probable that I met him somewhere along the line, but I deal with reporters every day. Many of them I never even see. There are many people that I know even by name, although I don't remember his name, and I do have a great memory, but I will tell you, I don't know him. Now he's going, well, he knew me, and we were on first name. Give me a break. Give me a break. And the problem is, he's using what he's got to such a horrible degree. I think it's disgraceful that what he's got. And I think the New York Times, frankly, should give me an apology. I do. I think they should give me. And I'd love to have the apology before they go out of business. I would love that. I would love it.
Thus, Trump's impersonations of a flustered reporter several months ago was turned into a left-wing and establishment GOP narrative whereby Trump somehow hates the disabled. This despite the fact that Trump has given millions to charities that help the disabled, including raising nearly $6 million for wounded warriors just recently, $1 million of which was his own money. In addition, Liz Crokin, a journalist who covered Donald Trump for 10 years, recalls the following. In 1988, a commercial airline refused to fly Andrew 10, a sick Orthodox Jewish child with a rare illness, across the country to get medical care because he had to travel with an elaborate life support system. His grief-stricken parents contacted Trump for help, and he didn't hesitate to send his own plane to take the child from Los Angeles to New York so he could get his treatment. In 2000, Maury Povich featured a little girl named Megan who struggled with brittle bone disease on his show, and Trump happened to be watching. Trump said the little girl's story and positive attitude touched his heart. So he contacted Maury and gifted the little girl and her family with a very generous check. Please keep this in mind and spread the word whenever you hear the left continually claim Trump is against disabled people at the Democratic Convention this week. Updated on July 28, 16. It turns out that at the very same South Carolina rally Trump imitated Kovaleski, he also used similar arm and hand gestures to imitate a very non-disabled general who was asked about ISIS. Do you remember the media reporting this? Watch below.
I don't know what I said. I don't remember.
Sports star at a bar at the time, among several other 100 or so patrons. At the time, among several other 100 or so patrons.
And I watched a general recently on television, and they said to him, what do you think about ISIS? Oh, ISIS is very tough. 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 Oh, ISIS is very tough.
Also, in addition to Kovaleski's 2001 Washington Post piece, further confirmation of Trump's recollection came out to embarrass the media. As it turns out, Trump's story was also confirmed on a local CBS station shortly after September 11th.
Back on this sixth night, the work does continue there, the crater and all that destruction downtown.
Upon President Bush's return to the White House today from Camp David, he vowed to get the evildoers, saying they have made a terrible, terrible mistake in assuming that the U.S. would not take immediate action. Pablo Guzman is here now with the latest on the investigation. We have arrests and arrest warrants. Pablo?
Todd, Dana, step by step it happens. Now, most of you know that yesterday the FBI raided an apartment in Jersey City where two men lived who were pulled off a train in Texas and are now back in New York. being held in connection with Tuesday's attacks. Ayub Ali Khan, 51, and Mohammed Jawi Azma, 47, taken off the train they had boarded after their flight out of Newark, like every other flight in America, was ordered down after the attacks in New York, Washington, and Pennsylvania. However, what no one outside the terrorist task force knows is that just a couple of blocks away from that Jersey City apartment the FBI raided yesterday and where they had evidence removed is another apartment building, one that investigators told me, quote, is swarming with suspects. Suspects who I'm told were cheering on the roof when they saw the plane slam into the Trade Center. Now, police were called to the building by other neighbors and found 8 men celebrating, 6 of them tenants in the building. The FBI and other terrorist task force agencies then arrived, and the older investigators on the task force recalled that they had been to this building before, 8 years ago, when the first World Trade Center attack led them to Sheikh Omar Abdul Rahman, whose Jersey City mosque lies between the 2 buildings getting attention today. And the older investigators remembered that suspects who eventually got convicted for the first Trade Center case, followers of Sheikh Rahman, lived in the building where these same 8 men were celebrating the destruction that they saw from the roof. Calling this a hot address, the task force investigators ordered everyone detained, and they saw something else. A model of the Trade Center on the roof, along with sets of binoculars. The kind of model used by an architect or an engineer for a presentation, an investigator told me. They knew, he said, that the planes were going to hit, and they wanted a ringside seat. Remember, part of what motivates Osama bin Laden against the United States, he has told followers, is that the United States put Sheikh Rahman in jail. Bin Laden has said that for that, the U.S. must pay. Yeah. Todd?
Pavel, it's absolutely chilling the fact that they were sitting there waiting, watching, as if getting ready to celebrate the fact that the Twin Towers would topple.
You know, the first investigators on the scene after the first police and even the first FBI agents didn't realize the scope of what happened. They thought maybe these guys thought they were cheering a fireworks display. But when the other investigators saw the model, saw the binoculars, and remembered that address and what it really meant to the first Trade Center bombing, that's when they said, we got to grab everybody.
All right, Pablo. Thank you. Pablo Guzman.
A lot of people.
Just a couple of blocks away from that Jersey City apartment the FBI raided yesterday and had evidence removed, there is another apartment building, one that investigators told me, quote, was swarming with suspects who I'm told were cheering on the roof when they saw the plane slam into the Trade Center. Police were called to the building by neighbors and found 8 men celebrating, 6 of them tenants in the building. The FBI and other terrorist task force agencies arrived, and the older investigators on the task force recalled that they had been to this building before, 8 years ago, when the first World Trade Center attack led them to Sheikh Omar Abdel Rahman, whose Jersey City mosque lies between the 2 buildings getting attention today. And the older investigators remember that the suspects that eventually got convicted for the first Trade Center case, lived in the building where these same 8 men were celebrating the destruction that they saw from the roof. Calling this a hot address, the task force investigators ordered everyone detained. Updated on July 31st, Angie Grover just released a new video that puts it all together. Check it out.
Or when he mocks and mimics a reporter with a disability.
Evidence such as some witness accounts, perhaps further video.
Oh, ISIS is very tough. Oh, ISIS is very tough.
I don't know what I said. I don't remember.
Senator Cruz, what do you think of waterboarding? Oh, I don't want to talk. Oh, I don't want to talk. Oh, ISIS is very tough. Oh, ISIS is very tough.
I don't know what I said. I don't remember.
Senator Cruz, what do you think of waterboarding? Oh, I don't want to talk. Oh, I don't want to talk. Oh, I don't want to talk.
Addendum, rebuttals to common objections, 731st. 1. You should see this guy is a figure of speech. Trump says it all the time whether he has personally met people or not, based on what they have said or were reported to have said. He also says seems like a nice guy, probably a nice guy. Often when he's asked to comment on someone critical of him he isn't very familiar with in order to look like he has nothing against them personally. We've watched hours and hours of Trump's rallies. He does this all the time. You should see this guy, was referring to what the reporter wrote, trying to backpedal from his story that he was about to read, and did read, to the crowd. 2. Poor guy refers to the fact that Kovaleski was then facing the wrath of the left-wing media putting pressure on him to explain his 2001 article lending that appeared to lend credence to Trump's claims and embarrass them. They desperately needed him to explain away his previous reporting. This is all readily apparent from the video in context. Trump explains this is what he thinks is happening, in the very video the media selectively edited, right after the impersonation. He explains that Kovaleski feels he has to do this to placate his media friends. But you probably haven't seen that part, have you? 3. When was Trump going to see the reporter on TV on video explaining his story? It never happened because the media, purposely in our opinion, never showed video of the man because they wanted people to think he is spastic. This is what they knew the audience would naturally think if they see a picture of Trump acting spastic and then plaster Trump mocks disabled reporter on top of it. The audience would assume Trump is mocking the man's spastic disability. So, Trump had no opportunity to see the reporter on TV reacting to the 9/11 story. 4. Even if Trump had seen the reporter somehow on video, he would then know the reporter is not spastic, so imitating him as spastic would make no sense. If he really wanted to mock his disability he'd have to have made a fixed tight flexed right hand held close to his body. This is what the reporter looks like in reality. The reporter's condition prohibits him from moving his right arm to any great extent at all, much less flailing it around. In addition, we've shown 3 videos where Trump is making similar flailing motions imitating someone who can't answer a question and is flummoxed. This is his standard impression of someone caught trying to answer a question they can't answer. 5. Opponents say that Trump met Kovaleski in the late 80s when he did stories on him. Trump admits he may very well have met him back then in the video of Trump wearing the red hat that I posted above. Watch it again. But Trump meets thousands of reporters a week. The number of reporters he had to have met in his life and since the 80s are astronomical. Not being able to recognize the name Kovaleski as someone he supposedly met over a decade ago is totally understandable. And again, even if he did somehow remember the man was not spastic. Neither were Ted Cruz or the general he imitated in similar fashion. Look, nobody believes Trump is a saint, but we find this particular narrative the media ran with, after they were starting to come under fire for not being truthful in immediately rejecting Trump's claims about celebrations in New Jersey, to be particularly egregious and felt it needed to be pointed out. Typically if Trump does something politically incorrect he owns it and doubles down on it. Instead, Trump denies he knowingly made fun of the man's disability to this day and consistently explains he has no recollection of him. Response to new dishonest Washington Post fact-check article. WAPO fact-checker gets 4 Hillarys for ignoring evidence Trump didn't mock reporter's disability. Update August 6, full video of Serge Kovaleski interview. For those liberals still in denial that the media would lie to them, here is the full interview of Kovaleski. It demonstrates that his disability does not in any way cause his arm to flail or jerk or move in any capacity. If anything, it appears to fix his arm by his body in a bent position. Kovaleski is in the striped shirt. Note, on January 19, 2017 we noticed that the full interview footage of Serge Kovaleski showing clearly that he was not spastic, was no longer available on YouTube. The original link now says, this video is no longer available because the YouTube account associated with this video has been terminated. We have now replaced the original link to the YouTube video with another link to the same video found in the New York Times website archives below. Update August 8, Trump said he saw thousands of people celebrating. Some of those in denial are starting to nitpick that there is no evidence that thousands of people celebrated in New Jersey on September 11 as Trump stated in his original comments. Trump exaggerating? Shocking. After using the term thousands initially, Trump did not mention thousands again to my knowledge. But he did, as we point out in the Stephanopoulos interview, continue to insist that there were people celebrating in New Jersey and that it was reported on. He says to Stephanopoulos, "There were people that were cheering on the other side of New Jersey, where you have large Arab populations. They were cheering as the World Trade Center came down. I know it might be not politically correct for you to talk about it, but there were people cheering as that building came down, as those buildings came down. And that tells you something. It was well covered at the time, George. Now, I know they don't like to talk about it, but it was well covered at the time. There were people over in New Jersey that were watching it, a heavy Arab population, that were cheering as the buildings came down. Not good." Stephanopoulos, as I said, the police have said it didn't happen. Notice, Stephanopoulos' response. The police have said it didn't happen. As in, at all. And this is what the media was claiming after Trump's statement. Not that there were not thousands celebrating, but that there were no reports of anyone celebrating in New Jersey. This was their position for days afterwards. WAPO even got so confident that there was no evidence, they went and published a fact-check article all but saying Trump was lying. This is precisely why it was so embarrassing for the media, especially WAPO, when it turns out their own reporter had stated people saw celebrations on rooftops in Jersey City. It was the height of Washington Post negligence and or complicity in hiding exculpatory evidence for Trump, and they were embarrassingly and publicly called on it. As more and more evidence came out proving that there were indeed celebrations in New Jersey on September 11, the media, including Kovaleski, retreated into desperately clinging to Trump's original exaggeration that there were thousands of people doing so and trying to say that the exaggeration was not accurate, while never admitting Trump was correct in substance and they were wrong. Perhaps Trump on September 11 in 2001 was getting the TV coverage of thousands of people celebrating in the Middle East mixed up with the story he heard about people celebrating on September 11 in Jersey City. We have no idea. But the only thing that matters for our purposes is that Trump said people celebrated in Jersey City and that it was reported at the time, and the media said, in the words of George Stephanopoulos, it didn't happen. Wrong and game over for the media. Please check out the following article. 9 pieces of documentation that vindicate Trump's claim of 9/11 Muslim celebrations. Update August 8, yeah, but Trump is just mocking a generic disabled person. This is another response we've heard to our story. And it shows that people did not read the story carefully. Our point is that Trump had no idea Kovaleski was disabled at all. Kovaleski claims, and the media just unquestioningly takes his word for it, that he covered Trump in the late 80s and or early 90s. Trump says it's possible, but he has zero recollection of him. As we point out, this is completely plausible, as Trump has most likely met hundreds of thousands of reporters since then. Most people can't even recognize someone they met a year ago, much less almost 20, and most people don't meet nearly as many people as a famous celebrity does on a daily basis. Secondly, if Trump is lying and somehow did remember Kovaleski standing there with one arm held fixed next to his chest talking calmly and seriously, it would be ridiculous for him to then deliberately try to mock him in front of millions of Americans by using spastic arm and hand movements which have nothing to do with Kovaleski's disability. Plus, Trump made similar motions impersonating a flustered Cruz and a general who didn't know how to answer a question. The common link here is that all 3 impersonations were of people who were flustered. None had a disability which caused arm and hand flailing. The only logical conclusion is that this is simply Trump's impersonation of someone who is flustered. Another point is the power of suggestion that the media deceptively used on the public. Every video of Trump was labeled with a prominent title of "Trump mocks disabled reporter" or words to that effect, accompanied by the obligatory still shot of Kovaleski with a flexed wrist. Thus, every single person who viewed the video of Trump with those words was conditioned to believe that he was mocking a disabled person. From then on, even when confronted with contrary evidence, some simply cannot unsee Trump mocking a disabled person when they look at the video. They will keep saying, "You can't tell me he didn't mock a disabled person. I saw the video." For example, take a look at the drawing of this young lady with her head turned below. Now it could be said that this drawing is of an old woman instead. But if you see the picture for the first time and it is labeled as "picture of a young woman," this is what you will assume and this is what you will see, just like people saw Trump mocking a disabled reporter when the media slapped the label on the video. As our Lord said, "Those who have eyes to see, let them see." And, to turn a phrase, there are none so blind as the willfully blind. Update, August 15th, dishonest WAPO deletes comment providing the videos they withheld from the public. On August 10th, the Washington Post's Callum Borchers wrote a particularly dishonest piece called, "People Love It When Donald Trump Makes Fun of Journalists Except One in Particular." It reported on a recent Bloomberg poll that asked respondents what statement/action of Trump's bothered them the most. Still waiting for the Hillary version of this? You'll be waiting a long time. Of course, one of the actions the poll asked people to rate was Trump's criticism of a reporter that was seen as mocking the reporter's physical disability. Note that was seen as, don't you love it? Who saw it that way? People who watched the video of Trump with the media caption "Trump mocks disabled reporter" plastered on it. The media created the impression that Trump was mocking the reporter's disability when in fact this was not the case as we have shown above. Now the media is polling to see how outraged people are over a fiction that they created. Pretty neat. Borchers does all of the misleading things we point out. He has the video of Trump freeze-framed at the precise moment that Trump's right hand is flexed down. Then he has the obligatory still photo of Kovaleski with his right hand flexed, giving the impression Trump is mocking him. Predictably, Borchers does not have the courage to show the public video of Kovaleski, because then it would be obvious to his readers that Kovaleski is not spastic and Trump could not possibly have been mocking his disability. Also, Borchers does not show video of Trump impersonating a flustered general at the same rally he imitated the flustered reporter. Nor was Borchers honest enough to show video of Trump imitating a flustered Cruz with the same type of arm and hand gestures. But the most egregious falsehood Borchers tells is what follows. 9 months after a rally in South Carolina where Trump contorted his arms in a way that was clearly meant to imitate the effects of arthrogryposis, which visibly limits flexibility in the arms of journalist Serge F. Kovaleski, voters say the incident still disturbs them. Note, that was clearly meant to imitate the effects of arthrogryposis. It's remarkable how Borchers can read Trump's mind. But it's even more remarkable how he begs the question. He simply expects us to take his word for it, that Trump falling his arms and hands was clearly meant to imitate the effects of a condition that results in fixed joints that can't be moved very well at all. However, as we demonstrated above, video of Kovaleski proves that his disability in no way causes him to move in any way similar to Trump. A comment was then placed in the comments section of the article, explaining these facts and linking to this article and another article on our site with video evidence giving an alternate explanation for Trump's actions. It was allowed to be posted and then quickly deleted. This demonstrates that the Washington Post is aware of evidence out there that contradicts their conclusions, and that they are willfully attempting to conceal it from their readers. If Borchers and WAPO were honest and truly wanted to report all of the evidence for and against and let the readers decide, they would have to include the video of Kovaleski and the video of Trump impersonating a flustered general and a flustered Cruz. Any objective report would include both evidence for and against a certain interpretation of the Trump video. However, as we have seen, WAPO is not interested in the truth or being objective. They have one sole objective, and that is to stop Donald Trump from becoming president. They will stoop to every level of dishonesty, including the hiding of facts and evidence from their readers to create the appearance of a story that hurts Trump's chances among voters. Fortunately, for the public and for the sake of the truth, we are here to expose WAPO's dishonesty and provide the public with all of the facts and both sides of the story so they can decide for themselves. Update September 2, 2016. Ann Coulter has linked to this article and other similar ones in her latest column entitled, Media Invented Lie About Trump Mocking Disabled Reporter. Predictably, The Washington Post's Callum Borchers responded the very next day with yet another misleading hit piece entitled, Ann Coulter Says She Can Prove Donald Trump Never Mocked a Reporter's Disability. She can't. We immediately responded with a new piece entitled, WAPO Claims Ann Coulter Is Wrong to Say Trump Didn't Mock Reporter's Disability. She isn't. In it we, yet again, pick apart and expose Mr. Borchers' misleading and selective cherry-picking of facts in order to present the truth. The media will truly stop at nothing in this election to see to it that their gal, Crooked Hillary, wins and takes as many rights away from their political enemies as possible. Don't let it happen. Vote Trump November 8. Update September 8, 2016. 2 new videos were found of Trump making similar impersonations before the November 25, 2015 rally where he impersonated the flustered reporter. We summarize all the videos up to this point in chronological order here. The first impersonation we found took place on May 17, 2005, a good 16 years before Trump impersonated a flustered New York Times reporter.
You used to tell me the one thing that troubled you about marriage was the feeling that you have to give up some of yourself, that you can't be the workaholic you are because of the demands of the nature of a relationship.
Yeah, I don't consider myself a workaholic. I mean, I work, but it's not work. It's like you. I mean, I love what I do, so it's no longer work. It's not like work. I mean, work to me is going on a 2-week vacation. If somebody said you have to go away for 2 weeks, you're going to Africa on a safari, there's not going to be any phones, you know what? You get me out of here, right? So that's to me, like, that would be work. You know what? You get me out of here.
As you can see, Trump has an open mouth and both wrists are flexed downward as he impersonated a flustered version of himself forced to go on a hypothetical vacation. The full clip can be seen here.
So I've decided to include this little Larry King interview because Donald Trump is the President of the United States and our media is not showing anything positive. I found the interview to be kind of heartwarming, kind of charming. I saw the first part of it, and our media has not done a good job. It's been living in this kind of crybaby state for the last 4 years where just because Hillary Clinton didn't win the election, we have to bash the President of the United States for 4 years instead of be grown-ups and just live with the hand that we've been dealt. So this was a little bit of a positivity I found, and this video has turned out to be long in the interest of being thorough. It is long anyway, so I'll just throw this in here into the mix as part of the compilation.
Mrs. Trump, Melania Trump, the international cover girl, has now joined us. We got to discuss the media. How did you two meet?
We met in New York, 1998. It was a fashion week, September 1998.
The famous fashion week.
The famous fashion week in New York.
Were you introduced?
Well, no, we were both at the same party, and that's how we met. He came to me.
Away?
I went crazy. I said, I was actually supposed to meet somebody else, and there was this great supermodel sitting next to Melania, and I was supposed to meet this supermodel, and they were saying, look, there's so-and-so. I said, forget about her. Who's the one on the left? And it was Melania.
You like him right away?
It was a great chemistry and energy. We had, great time. We started to talk, and, it was something was there right away.
And it was a long engagement.
It was.
Why?
Well, you know, we just had a great time and we didn't worry about it and, you know, just live lives. And then one day, surprise.
How did the proposal take place?
Well, we were together.
Give it to us.
We were together 5 years. We literally have never had an argument or forget about the word fight. We never even had an argument. We just are very compatible. We get along. And I just said, you know what, it's time. And it wasn't a big deal. It was almost
That's
like
the way
it was
you did
obvious.
it? You know what, it's time?
No, I did it a little better than that, you know, without going into too much detail. But it was time, and we just have a very good relationship.
And Melania, by the way, is on the latest cover of Weddings from InStyle magazine. You're the wedding cover. Why?
And she's on the cover of Vogue.
That's right. Also.
That was before, yeah, that came out before the wedding, a few days before.
Did you want that elaborate a wedding?
Yes, when I started planning, it was a lot of fun. So I loved it. I loved my dress. I had a great time in Paris. I went with my great friend, Andre Leontali. He's an amazing man. And we went to Paris for 1 week to the shows, and with Anna Wintour, the editor of Vogue.
What was the wedding like?
Fantastic. We had a great time.
I had to
We
work.
missed you.
I see. I had to
You're
work.
the only one that wasn't there.
I had to work.
That's true. That's okay.
It was great. It was really, I had a great time planning it. And
Were you nervous?
No, not at all.
Not at all?
Not at all. I had a great time because we were
You've
in
never
the
been
relationship.
married, right?
Never been married before. And we were in the relationship for a long time, so
But
I
still,
knew.
that's a grand scene.
It is, but you know, we know what kind of relationship we have, and I don't think I should be scared of anything.
What was a honeymoon like when people have lived together for 5 years?
Well, it was good. You know, we stayed in Mar-a-Lago and Palm Beach. Somebody said, where are you going for the honeymoon? And our attitude was, why would we leave Palm Beach? We have the most beautiful, you know, they don't call it Palm Beach for no reason. We have the most beautiful palm trees, right? So why are we going to leave our gorgeous, beautiful house called Mar-a-Lago and venture out into some tropical island where things aren't clean or whatever?
Not clean, where people shake hands. Did you feel different when they said man and wife?
No. I felt that it was just so natural. I didn't feel different. And I wasn't very nervous, and she wasn't very nervous. We just knew what we were getting into. It just was time. It was just sort of very easy.
You feel different?
We didn't feel different at all, you know. It was really kind of, you know, sometimes we say like, oh, husband, wife, you know, it's like kind of a jokingly. Yeah, I use the name Trump, yes.
Because you're proud of it.
I'm proud of it. Yes, I am. And I married a man, and, you know, I'm kind of old-fashioned in that way that, you know, you take the name of the husband.
Did your parents like him?
Yes, they do.
Do you want a parent? Do you want to be a mother?
Yes, we want to have a family. We want to have a baby together.
You have how many children?
I have 4. 4 beautiful children.
And they're
all
great
good
kids.
children. Yeah.
Successful
all
kids.
really good. And they're very successful. All doing well in school. They're all terrific.
How do you feel about fatherhood again?
I like it.
How old are you, Don?
58.
Young.
It's young compared to you, right?
Yeah, compared to me, I got a 6 and a 5.
My man, give me your hand in.
Hey,
I
there's
don't
nothing
mind
like
shaking.
it.
I'm telling you, there's no problem with shaking this guy's hand.
Right.
This was 3 times already.
Plus, I'll be washing my hands very strong.
Do you look forward to possibly being
Yeah,
a
I
father?
think it's great. Look, the way I look at it, there's nothing like a good marriage, and there's nothing like having children. I have 4 great children. If you have the money, having children is great. Now, I know Melania. I'm not going to be doing the diapers. I'm not going to be making the food. I may never even see the kids, frankly.
No, yo,
okay? No, she will be an unbelievable mother. I'll be a good father, but I'll be, you know,
How do you know?
doing
she'll
my
be
deals.
You know it.
Oh, her?
Yeah.
She'll be an amazing mother. I have no doubt about that. She'll be an amazing mother.
Have you been back to Slovenia?
I've been in Slovenia 2 years ago.
Did you go?
Yes, I was there about 13 minutes. No, it's a beautiful country. I landed, said, hi, Mom, hi, Dad, bye. Boom.
Let's show the ring. Can we get a close-up of the ring, and Donald will tell us, as Don Rickles would say, this ring signals ships. Did you pick it?
Well, I picked it, and it's from Graf Jewelers, who are terrific. And
Oprah's jeweler.
That's true. And I love Oprah. She is terrific. And they're just, you know, it was just a nice...
Did you pick it, or did you go with him?
No, he picked it.
I picked it, but she and I have very similar taste. It's amazing. We have just similar taste.
When we come back, I'm going to ask, he's such a formidable figure, if he's a controlling figure. We'll be right back with the Trumps on this edition of Larry King Live. And don't forget, the final of Apprentice 3, that's right, third-year Apprentice, is live Thursday night. We'll be right back. We're back with the Trumps, Donald and Melania. RK, is he a control freak?
I don't think he's a control freak. He's perfectionist.
No, that's a slight difference. Does he
is,
make demands?
I don't think so. Maybe he makes demands in his business because he needs to. He's kind of a general. He needs to, have people in line, but not at home. We are very equal in the relationship, and that's very important. To marry a man like Donald is, you need to know who you are, and you need to be very strong and smart, and he needs to know that he could rely on me sometimes, and we share a lot of stuff together. I don't think he's control freak at all.
Does he bring work home?
Yes, sometimes, but he's working all the time. Saturday, Sundays, he's playing golf, he's working all the time.
Doesn't it bother you?
No, it's his passion. He loves it. It doesn't bother me. I don't want to change him. I don't want, to say, come home and, be with me. I don't want to change him. I want to give him a space, and I think that's very important in the relationship.
Because you used to tell me the one thing that troubled you about marriage was the feeling that you have to give up some of yourself, that you can't be the workaholic you are because of the demands of the nature of a relationship.
Yeah, I don't consider myself a workaholic. I mean, I work, but it's not work. It's like you. I mean, I love what I do, so it's no longer work. It's not like work. I mean, work to me is going on a 2-week vacation. If somebody said you have to go away for 2 weeks, you're going to Africa on a safari, there's not going to be any phones, you know what? You get me out of here, right? So that's, to me, like, that would be work. But what Melania is so good at, we just have this natural relationship. It's like my mother and father. They were married 63 years. I've always heard you have to work at a good relationship. My father didn't work at a good relationship. He went home, he had dinner, he went to bed, he took it easy, he watched television. My mother, the same thing. She cooked them dinner. And it was just one of those things. It wasn't work. But I always heard you have to work at a relationship.
You're not working at this.
No, because, look, I work very hard from early in the morning till late in the evening. I don't want to go home and have to work at a relationship. I mean, that's it. A relationship we have to work at it, in my opinion, doesn't work. So maybe I'm wrong.
Do you cook?
I cook sometimes. When we stay home and something very fast and, but we are out most of the time. So I don't really have, time to cook.
What is it like to have everything economically? By that I mean, you go down Fifth Avenue, you look in a window, like something, you can buy it. What's that like?
Well, it's...
You don't have any financial pressure.
Yes, but you don't, I grew up, you always, taking care of the money. You're not like a, big spender, and you're saying like, okay, I will buy it even if I don't like it for 100%. You really need to love it that you buy it.
Oh, so you're not just shop to shop.
I'm not just shop to shop. It's
She
just
has never taken advantage of that situation. Okay, as many women would have, frankly. I mean, she's not one that sees a beautiful something in a Fifth Avenue or Madison Avenue window and said, I'm going to get it, or please get it. It's not her thing.
I made a lot of money myself, so it's like I know how it's to work and what money means. So it's not that I will say, okay, now I will have the latest bag, I want that bag, and then in 1 month, that bag will be in the closet inside, that it's not even, it's kind of funny if you have that bag. It's like not in fashion. I'm not into that.
There's a very nice side of you, generous, nice side of you, and I'll ask her to tell about it when we come back. The Apprentice, Thursday night. Don't go away. What don't we know about him?
What do we know?
What would the public not know about him?
Not know. Amazing heart. He likes to help people. He has friends. He's loyal to it. He is great sense of humor. Great sense of humor. And I think, people know him more since The Apprentice, the way he is. He cares about people.
I had a friend...
She's doing a very good job tonight, by the way.
Yes, she is. I had a friend tell me
Thank you.
that if he had a problem, he would call you. Why don't you let that out more?
Well, I think the press doesn't really like hearing that, to be honest with you. I mean, I do a lot of things, and I don't like to talk about them, but they'd much rather see me, beating someone up than being nice to somebody. It fits the image better for them. And I think that's fine. It doesn't matter. But I love to help people. I do. I love helping people. There's nothing better. There's nothing that makes me feel
reward,
better. Yeah. But I don't think that's the image that the press really wants from me. They develop sort of an image for somebody, and that's what they want to go with. And I think that's probably one of the reasons The Apprentice did so well. And which is interesting about The Apprentice is that I fire people. That's what I do. I fire people.
You do a mean thing.
No, I do a mean thing, and everyone
Firing
thinks I'm
is
so
mean.
much nicer than before. They used to think that I was really this horrible, flame-throwing, terrible tyrant, right? Now I go on a television show where basically what I do is I fire people, and everyone thinks I'm such a nice guy, which tells you what a bad image I had before The Apprentice.
Do you have a favorite for Thursday night?
Yes, I have.
I know we're not going to have you
Yeah,
say
I
it
can
or
tell.
anything. Do you try to influence him?
We talk about it.
Does she have impact with you?
Well, the fact is I have George and Carolyn, but I also have George and Carolyn, and I have my little Melania. The truth is she does. She has a person that she thinks is very good on The Apprentice, number 3, the one doing on Thursday night, and she's told me that, and I think that's totally fair.
Of course, she's your wife.
Yeah, I think
And
it's
does
fair.
it impact you? I mean,
It does, and Mark Burnett, generally Mark wants me to do exactly what I want to do, and he's an incredible guy and a good guy, a really good guy. There's another guy that is a wonderful guy. But every once in a while he'll say something that, I like to listen to people, what they think, especially Mark or Melania or people that I respect.
where are you from?
I'm from Slovenia. I'm from Slovenia, and I grew up there as a teenager, and I left it 15 years ago.
To come?
Went to Milan, and then Paris, and then I went to New York. I came to New York 10 years ago.
You want to be a model?
Yes, I was modeling.
That was your goal, to be a model?
Yes, I was modeling in Milano, Paris, and then came to New York, and I had a very successful career.
You still want her to model?
Well, she's doing an Aflac commercial, and I was very... Yeah, I was Dan Amos, who's the chairman of Aflac, who's done an amazing job.
Amazing.
He wanted to do where the duck turns into this beautiful swan or beautiful duck. And they said, okay, the concept is great. Now we're going to supply you with like 25 women, and you can choose the one you want. He said, no, I don't want to look at anybody. I want Trump's wife.
If you're hurt and can't work, Aflac can help pay your bills with cash.
Genius! And her? Aflac!
It's been a tremendous success, right?
It was a great success. I had a great time to shoot it.
Would you then not mind if she did fashion modeling?
Well, she can do it. She doesn't want to do too much anyway. She was very successful. I don't think she wants to do a lot of modeling, but she's having fun, and she's giving a lot of offers, and she turns many of them down, most of them down. She liked doing the Aflac one because it was so different, and it's such a great commercial.
It is funny, very funny. We'll be back with some more moments with Donald and Melania Trump. Don't go away. ABC has a Trump biopicture coming called Trump Unauthorized, scheduled May 24th. You said you'll sue if there are inaccuracies.
Correct, yeah, I'll sue. I mean, if
Are you
it's
worried?
inaccurate, I'm not worried. Hey, look, it's going to go on, it's going to go off, nobody's going to remember, who cares? But I'm going to, I let them know. I'm very honored that they're doing it. It's a great honor. They're doing a 2-hour movie on me on national, network television. And so I'm honored in one way. In another way, I want it to be accurate. So if it's not accurate, I will sue.
You're not trying to stop it,
I
though.
will sue.
You're not trying to stop it.
It's pretty
Some
tough to
people,
stop.
it's hard to.
Yeah, it's pretty tough to.
You know who's playing you?
An actor he's quite a bit shorter than me, but he's a handsome guy, so I'm okay. I hope
Who's
the women
playing
are all
Melania?
short.
It's not, nobody plays me. It's his past life.
Oh.
It's prior
It's
to.
Yes, it's before me. And it's like a story. His life was, open book, so everybody see
Do you know
already.
his exes?
Yes.
Get along with them?
I don't see them much. I don't, we don't see them. We
They were
don't
at the wedding, though,
socialize.
weren't
No.
They
No,
were
well,
not-
that was a misconception. They weren't invited to the wedding, and they're wonderful. Ivana's
I thought I
wonderful,
read
and
they were at
Marla's
the wedding.
wonderful. And actually, Melania doesn't know Ivana. Maybe I don't think I've ever met her, but it doesn't know, and does know Marla, and she has a great relationship with Marla. But she doesn't know Ivana.
And you root for them to be happy, don't you?
Absolutely. I want them to be happy. Absolutely. They're the mother of my children, the mothers of my children. So I want them to be happy. And I have a good relationship with both of them.
Do you worry about women and him being attracted to him?
No, I don't worry about that at all.
You worry about
I know who I am, and if a man doesn't want to be with me, or I don't want to be with the man.
Goodbye
So,
and good luck.
That's
You
right.
worry about her with men?
No. I know her. That's The Rock.
Thank you both very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
The next video was brought to our attention by a Catholics for Trump reader named Noel, who linked to this video, originally posted to YouTube by All Things Trump on July 1, 2016.
When you see the president of the bank, I mentioned the word regulator. These guys come in, they run the banks. Written by a nice reporter. Now the poor guy, you got to see this guy. Oh, I don't know what I said. I don't remember. He's going like, I don't remember. Oh, maybe that's what I said. This is 14 years ago.
We cleaned up the quality of the video and added slow motion in the version below.
Because, you know, the banks now, they can't do anything. They're run by the regulators. In all fairness to the banks, they're run by the regulators. When you see the president of the bank, I mentioned the word regulator. These guys come in, they run the banks. When you see the president of the bank, I mentioned the word regulator. These guys come in, they run the banks.
As you can see, Trump once again opens his mouth, flexes his right wrist downward, and shakes it as he imitates a flustered bank president afraid of regulations. This took place at a rally in Norfolk, Virginia on October 31, 2015, a full 25 days before Trump would impersonate a flustered New York Times reporter. Update October 29, 2016. Trump making the exact same arm motions to impersonate a flustered Donna Brazile at a rally in Sanford, Florida on October 25, 16.
So listen to this. Crooked Hillary Clinton bleached and deleted 33,000 emails, lied to Congress under oath, made 13 iPhones disappear, some with a hammer, then told the FBI she couldn't remember 39 times. Bad memory. Incredible. But we have also just learned that one of the closest people to Hillary Clinton, with long-standing ties to her and her husband, the closest person, I can tell you that, gave more, listen to this, just happened yesterday, gave more than $675,000 to the campaign of the wife of a top FBI official who oversaw the investigation into Mrs. Clinton's illegal email server. In other words, the man who was in charge of the investigation of Hillary Clinton accepted essentially from Hillary Clinton $675,000 that went to his wife. Never happened before. Never happened. Not in this country's history. This is a disgrace, and she shouldn't be allowed to run for president. She shouldn't be allowed. She's a crook. Remember this. Remember this. Just remember this. So important. Donna Brazile, head of DNC, got the answers to a debate and the questions to a debate. So she has the questions. She gave them to Crooked Hillary. And I don't know if you saw Donna Brazile the other night on television. What a mess that was, the way she didn't know what to do. Well, how did you get them? They were sent by Russia. Russia. You know, they're always using Russia. Like I have nothing to do with Russia. They were sent by Russia and Donald Trump, you know. These people. And yet they have more because Hillary Clinton gave them 20% of our uranium, gave Russia for a big payment.
So we've got Donna Brazil, we've got a banker, we've got Ted Cruz, we've got a general, and we've got the reporter Serge Kowalensky. Now, Trump was a lot more passionate and animated when talking about Serge. That is understandable since there was a backlash against the entire news media saying that Trump was lying about people in New Jersey celebrating the 9/11 attacks. I remember when that happened and people seemed to chime in behind what the news reports were saying that Trump wasn't telling the truth. You have to remember that during the campaign, it seemed like everyone was against Donald Trump and everyone was trying to find some way to belittle him and quote him out of context and outright lie about him. And it's just the tip of the iceberg that Trump didn't mock a disability. This entire video was about putting that to rest, but not only that, opening your eyes to the fact that our news media is corrupted and we have to think for ourselves. And there's a huge crisis of integrity in this country.